Hi students, welcome to God Academy. My name is Kranti Kumar. I am a physics professor. I am teaching this physics from past 15 years. So today I am going to speak about average speed and various concepts related to it. Okay? So let us discuss in detail about this. Average speed. I can write it as the symbol for speed is V. Since it is average, AVG. This is what the symbol for average speed. Now, how can I define this average speed? It is defined as the total distance travelled to total time taken. Repeating my dear, it is defined as the ratio of total distance travelled to total time taken by the body. Okay. So average speed is equal to, I am saying that it is ratio. So I have to put by. Okay. Total distance travelled, ratio of total distance travelled to total time taken by the body. Understand now? Now, under this, we have to observe few concepts. The first one, let me say it is concept 1. Let me say it is concept 1. I say that a body is travelling a distance S1. A body is travelling a distance S1 in a time T1, and later on it covers a distance S2 in a time T2. Now let us find out the average speed of that particular body. Okay. So, concept 1. If a body covers a distance S1 in a time T1 and then it covers a distance S2 in a time T2, then we have to find average speed. We have to find average speed. Okay, my dear children. So what is the formula for average speed? It was given as total distance travelled by total time taken. So here the total distance is S1 and S2, and the time taken in both the cases is T1 and T2. Okay. So now I am including in that formula. So that is average speed is equal to, okay, what is the formula here? Total distance, right, covered by a body as well as total time taken. So here the total distance is S1 and S2. So I have to write here the total distance is S1 plus S2 and the time taken in both the cases is T1 and T2. So I have to write down here T1 plus T2. Understand now? So for this we can draw a supporting diagram. That is, since it is a straight line, motion is straight line, I can draw one straight line and I can tell you that a body covers a distance S1 in a time T1. So let me assume these 2 points as A and B. Repeating my dear children, a body travels from A to B and then it covers a distance S1 in a time T1. Okay. Later on, it moves from point B to point C and then it covers a distance S2 in a time T2. Okay. So this is what is the given question. Now for this the answer is average speed is equal to total distance by total time taken, where the total distance is here S1 and S2, both I have to include. From point A it has been started and from up to point C it has been moved on. It means that the total distance covered is S1 plus S2, whereas the total time taken is T1 plus T2. Understood now? So like this I can tell you. Note. So note one more hint I am giving you. Suppose journey is continuing for more than 10 hours, then what must be the average speed? The average speed is equal to, again, total distance S1 plus S2 plus S3 plus so on by T1 plus T2 plus T3 plus so on. Understood, no? Tell you in deep these concepts, okay? Now, you can please note this. Or better to take a screenshot. So now let us discuss concept 2 based upon this average speed only. Students, I will tell you nearly 4 to 5 concepts which are very important related to this average speed. If you understand this, my opinion is that you can do any sum related to average speed, okay? Concept 2. Clear? Suppose if I say that if a body covers 2/5 of distance, okay, in a time t1, and then it covers remaining distance in a time t2. So this is what is the concept. Now our interest is that we have to find out average speed. Average speed. So how we will find out? So it was very clear that a body is moving in one direction. So let me draw a straight line, okay? Like this. So let me name this as A, and some point over here as B, and some point over here as C. Now what I am saying is that a body covers 2/5 of the total distance in a time t1, okay? So let me assume this one as S1 and this one as S2 and this one as T1 and this one as T2. Clear? Now out of the total distance, 2/5 of the distance is covered in a time t1. So I have to write here 2/5 times of total distance. So I have to assume that the total distance from point A to point C as S. Okay. Now the remaining distance. What is the remaining distance? So 2/5 is covered. Already 2/5 of the distance is covered. Then what about the remaining distance? If 2/5 is covered, the remaining will be 3/5. Okay. So it is equal to 3/5 of the total distance which was covered in a time t2. We have to find average speed. Now to make this question still more and more simple, let me assume some value for t1 and t2. Okay. So let me write that in a time t1 equal to nearly some 2 seconds, whereas t2 equal to 4 seconds. Let me assume like this. Okay. So t1 equal to 2 seconds and t2 equal to 4 seconds. Now what we have to do? We have to find out average speed. Okay. Now what is the relation you are having to find out the average speed that we have discussed earlier? So average speed is given by the formula. Average speed is given by the formula total distance. So for distance I am using the symbol S. So since I am saying total, let me write it like this. Okay, S suffix total by total time taken. So T stands for time. Okay, total time taken. Here you are having two distances S1 and S2. So what I have to do here is that in place of this total distance I have to write S1 plus S2 like this. Okay. Whereas the total time taken here it is T1 and T2. So let me write here the total time as T1 plus T2 in place of this T. Okay. So this is the way I have to write. Now what is S1? 2/5 of this total distance. So we are calling it as the 2/5 of the total distance. Okay. So in place of S1 I have to substitute 2/5 of the overall distance. In place of S2 I have to substitute 3/5 of the overall distance. Similarly T1 is 2 seconds and T2 is 4 seconds. So in place of T1 2 seconds, in place of T2 4 seconds. This is the way we have to write. Okay. Now by solving this you will get some answer. This is 2/5s and this is 3/5s. You have to take LCM. So here the LCM is 5 and 2s plus 3s. 2s plus 3s. Okay. which was divided by 2 plus 4, that is 6. Okay, so 2s plus 3s is 5s, which was divided by 5, and here it is 6. We can write like this. So these two will be cancelled. So the total speed is s by 6. Okay. So this is the way we have to write down. Clear? So you can have a screenshot, or either you can pause it and you can observe it carefully. Okay, my dear students. So, my dear students, we are going for the next concept, that is concept 3. Okay. So, in this case, I will take 3 different distances, S1, S2, S3 in a time T1, T2, T3. What I say is that a body covers a distance S1, S2, S3 in a time T1, T2, T3 and find out the average speed. So, no doubt, as I told earlier, I have given you the formula V average is equal to total distance by total time. There the total distance is S1 plus S2 plus S3 and total time is T1 plus T2 plus T3. Okay. So, directly can substitute those values and you will get the answer. That's clear. But now, I am going still in detail. Okay. So, let me say that if a body covers 1/3 of the total distance, 1/3 of total distance, okay, in a time T1, okay, and then it covers, okay, next 1/3 of the total distance, 1/3 of total distance in a time T2, finally, and remaining distance in a time T3. This is what is the given question. Okay. So now we have to find out average speed. We have to find out average speed. Okay. So the formula for average speed is nothing but total distance travelled, by total time taken by the body. So before that I will draw the diagram. So let me say that a body starts at point A and it moves up to point B. So here let me assume that it covers 1/3 of total distance. Let the total distance be S. So here S1 equal to 1/3 of the total distance. Okay. Covers in a time T1. Now, and then it covers next 1/3 again. So again from B to C, you have to assume that the distance again it is 1/3. So that is better to write, instead of 1, better to write A to B and then B to C, that is 1/3, means S by 3 in a time T2. So what is saying again? Remaining distance. So what was the remaining distance? What was the remaining distance that I give you the time? Think. So what I am saying is that initially 1/3 of the distance is covered in a time T1, okay, and next again the 1/3 is covered in a time T2. So next what I am saying is that remaining distance. So what was the remaining distance? 1/3 and 1/3 already covered. It means 1/3 plus 1/3, 2/3 is already covered. So the remaining distance is nothing but last 1/3, isn't it? So remaining distance is nothing but last 1/3. So let me write there. Again from C to D, the remaining distance is S by 3. That automatically we have to know it. Okay. So remaining distance is 1/3 again. 1/3 of the total, that is S by 3, which was covered in a time T3. So our interest is that we have to find out average speed. We have to find out average speed. Okay. So the formula for average speed is that total distance travelled by total time taken. Here the total distance is S from A to B and B to C and C to D. So that is what I have to write. S from A to B and then B to C and then C to D. If you want, you can write it as S1, S2, S3, no problem. S1 plus S2 plus S3 like that. Okay, you can write like that, no problem. And total time is that, here also I'll change it. So let the time taken from A to B is T1 and time taken from B to C is T2 and time taken from C to D is T3. So time taken from A to B and then B to C and then C to D. Okay. So here time taken from A to B is T1 plus T2 plus T3. Whereas time taken distance from A to B is equal to 1/3 of S. So you can write S by 3 and B to C is also S by 3 and then C to D is also S by 3. C to D is also S by 3. Okay. So like this we can solve this question. So now what are the concepts I am saying you 1, 2 and 3. Now I am going to change a little bit and I am expecting answer from you. Okay. So once again, concept 1, 2, 3. So in this concept 3, if I say that if a body covers a 1/3 of the total distance with a speed v1 and then it covers next 1/3 of the total distance with a speed v2 and remaining distance with a speed v3. So now I am changing the question little bit like this. Okay. So what will be the answer? What will be the answer, my dear? So here it was clearly given that the speed from A to B is v1 and here it is v2 and here it is v3. Like this it was given. Okay. And time is not given. So let us remove this time. Time is not given. Like this. So it was clear that speed from A to B. So speed from A to B is v1 and speed from B to C is v2, whereas speed from C to D is v3. So here time is not given, then why should I write in time? I should not write now. So then what I have to do? We know that speed is equal to distance by time. Therefore time is equal to distance by speed, isn't it? So here time taken from A to B, let me write it as distance from A to B and speed from A to B. Okay. So time from A to B is distance from A to B and speed from A to B. Distance from A to B is what? Here 1/3 of S. So I can directly write it as S by 3, whereas speed from A to B is what? V1. So this I am going to substitute now. Okay, in place of T1 or in place of TAB. Now, in place of TAB, I can substitute S by 3 by V1. So here TAB is there. In place of this, let me write here as S by 3 by V1 plus, now, in place of TBC. So again the same formula. So what I have to say is that time taken from B to C is nothing but distance from B to C by speed from B to C. That is S by 3 by V2. So B to C is here S by 3, whereas the speed from B to C is given as V2. So those two things I am substituting here. S by 3 by V2. Okay. And last case is time taken from C to D. So time taken from C to D. So time again the same formula we have to write. That is distance from C to D by speed from C to D. So distance from C to D, here it is S by 3, whereas speed from C to D is V3. Okay. So S by 3 by V3. So like this I could write. Now what will be the average speed? So my dear, here S by 3, S plus S by 3 plus S by 3. If I add those three, I could write it as 3S by 3 or simply S. 3S by 3 or simply S I could write like this. Okay, let me leave it. Now here S by 3, S by 3, S by 3. So in three cases S by 3 is given. Okay, S by 3 is present. So I can take it as common. S by 3 is taken as common. 1 by V1 plus, if S by 3 is removed here, 1 by V1 is there. Okay, If here s by 3 is taken as common, 1 by v2 is there. If here s by 3 is taken as common, 1 by v3 is there. So 1 by v1 plus 1 by v2 plus 1 by v3. Like this I will get. Now this s by 3, this s by 3 has been cancelled. Okay. So the remaining part is 3 by 1 by v1 plus 1 by v2 plus 1 by v3. By taking LCM for this one, I could write it as v1, v2, v3 is LCM. v1, v2, v3 is LCM. Okay. Now in place of this, since v1 is already present, I have to go for v2 and v3. So v2, v3. Since v2 is present, okay, v2 is present, the remaining part is v1 and v3. So v1 and v3. Next, v3 is present, so I have to go for v1 and v2. So v1, v2. So this is the way I have to take LCM. And here 3 is present. Now, what I could do is that finally, this denominator part can be brought onto the numerator side. So the final answer for this one is 3 times of v1, v2, v3 by v1, v2 plus v2, v3 plus v3, v1. So this is what the final answer here. Then the average speed in this case is equal to 3 times of v1, v2, v3 by v1, v2 plus v2, v3 plus v3, v1. Okay, my dear children. I hope that you understand this. Okay. So you take a time, you take some time, observe this carefully, you will understand better. So students, previously I have discussed about the concept one. Okay, now I want to change a little bit on that. Once again, I want to change a little bit information and then we have to solve that numerical part. Okay. So previously in concept 1, what I have told is that a body is traveling a distance s1 in a time t1 and then it travels a distance s2 in a time t2 and we found out the average speed. Now what I am going to change is that instead of time I will give you the speed. If a body covers a distance s1 with a speed v1 and then it covers a distance s2 with a speed v2, find average speed. Okay. So here what I am changing is that previously I am discussing that a body covers a distance s1 in a given time t1 and then distance s2 in a time t2. Now what I have done is that I am just replacing time by speed. This is very important concept. I am telling you, my dear, in foundation courses as well as in intermediate courses as well as in NEET or mains or MSET or any kind of examination, this concept was repeating continuously. Very important concept. That's why I am telling you again and again, focus on this one. This is very important concept. Okay. So for this, the supporting diagram is that a body is traveling. Okay. So let us take a straight line. Now it covers a distance s1. So it covers a distance s1 with a speed v1 and then it covers a distance s2 with a speed v2. Like this it was there. Okay. So previously let me assume this distance s1 is from point A to B and then the distance s2 is from point B to C. Let us assume like this, just for clarity. Okay. Now what we have to do is that we have to find out the average speed. So what is the formula to find out average speed? So average speed is given by the formula, again, total distance covered by the body to total time taken by the body. Here the total distance is s1 and s2. Clear now? s1 plus s2. So whether time is given or not, it was very clear that two cases are there. So in the first case the time taken is t1 and the next case the time taken is t2. So since two cases are given, I have to write t1 plus t2. This is the way I have to write. Okay. But the problem here is that, my dear student, t1 and t2 are not yet mentioned, but still we have to solve it. So how we have to solve it? Again we have to go back to the previous relation. What is the relationship between the time, speed and distance? So that is what we have to recollect again. Okay. So previously I informed you that Speed is given by the formula distance by time. So therefore time is equal to distance by speed. So this is what the relation we have to recollect again and again. Now by using this, okay, we can change the values of T1 and T2 as per the given question. So now if you observe, T is equal to S by V, means distance by speed. So here distance and speed is given, right? So now once S1 and V1 is given, means no doubt it is T1 only, na? So here now I can write it as T1 is equal to, based upon this formula, time is equal to distance by speed. So here T1 is equal to, distance here it is S1 and the speed here it is V1. Like this I have to recollect, okay? Similarly in the next case, that is from B to C, what was the time taken? So again I have to write it as T2 is equal to, so what is the formula for T, my dear students? It is distance by speed. So here the distance is S2 and the speed is V2. So distance is S2 and the speed is V2. So like this, before the start of this concept or before the start of any numerical, first of all we have to recollect whatever the relations that we know. Clear? Then it was very easy to solve it. So now by substituting these two relations in this formula, I am going to get, so in place of S1 is S1, in place of S2 is S2, but in place of T1 it is S1 by V1, in place of T2 it is S2 by V2. This is the way we have to recollect, okay? My dear children, don't forget, this is very, very important concept, okay? You should never forget this until you complete your +1 and +2 or any kind of objective or entrance examination. This is very important. Now, based upon this particular concept, let me tell you what are the applications that you are going to get, okay? So now I will go for the application by saying case 1 and case 2, right? So coming to case 1, okay? Directly I am giving you the diametric part. I say that a body covers a distance, okay? A body covers half of the distance with a speed V1 and then it covers remaining half of the distance with a speed V2. This is what the question. Repeating. Let me say that a body covers half of the distance with a speed V1 and then remaining distance. What is remaining distance, my dear? If first half is covered, the remaining distance, no doubt it is the remaining half. So that is the reason I have written here S by 2. Okay. So the remaining distance, that is S by 2, is covered with a speed V2. So this is what the given concept. Now we have to find out the average speed. We have to find out the average speed. Repeating, my dear children, a body is there or a boy is there or a girl is there. He covers half of the distance with the speed V1 by using a motorcycle. And then remaining half he covers, remaining half is, that is S by 2 again, okay, remaining half of the distance he moves with a speed V2, maybe by using a car or maybe by using a bicycle. Then our interest is that we have to find out the average speed. Clear? So in order to deal with such kind of concepts, we have to know this relation, okay. So here average speed is given by this relation. So let me use it. So S1, no doubt here S1 is S by 2 and S2 is also S by 2. Let me name this as A and this as B and this as C. Okay. Now S1 is taken as S by 2. Clear? S2 is also taken as S by 2. So the same thing we have to substitute here also in S1 and S2. So that is S by 2 by V1 plus S by 2 by V2. This is what the relation I have to write. Now what I have to do is that I have to simply simplify this. S by 2 plus S by 2, which is nothing but 2S by 2, and here S by 2, here S by 2. So I can take it as common. So the remaining is 1 by V1 plus 1 by V2. So now what I could do is that if you observe both numerator and denominator, S by 2 is there. So I can cancel this, my dear. So if I take the LCM part for this one, it is 2 by taking LCM for this one, we will get it as V1 plus V2 by V1 into V2. Okay, the denominator part has to come up. So the final answer for this particular concept is that it is average speed is equal to, when this comes up, 2v1 v2 by v1 plus v2. Okay? If I say that a body covers half of the distances with a speed v1 and v2, then what was the average speed? Directly, this value, this relation must come into your mind, which was given as 2 times of v1 v2 by v1 plus v2. So 2 times of speed in the first case multiplied by speed in the second case divided by sum of the speeds in both the cases. Okay, my dear, very important. Once again, I am telling you, take your own time, observe this carefully, understand this. Okay. Now coming to concept 4. Okay. So up to now, what are the concepts I have discussed? Once again, I am coming back. I have taken the relations between the speed and distances. Okay. Now my interest is that I will consider speed and time. And the last concept is that I have to include speed, distance and time. Okay. So now I am going to discuss about the relationship between the speed and time in different cases and how to find out the average speed. Okay. If a body covers or let me say that if a body moves with a speed v1 in a time t1 and then it moves with a speed v2 in a time t2. So this is what is the concept. What we have to do is that we have to find average speed. Repeating, my dear children, a body moves with a speed v1 in a time t1 and then he finds some speed breaker or he finds that some road is dirty or he had to take a turn. Okay, he is entering into some other area where his speed may be reduced or his speed may be increased. So now we are having two different speeds. Okay, suppose we are traveling for first 5 kilometers with a speed of 60 km per hour and the remaining 5 kilometers we can travel with a speed of 90 km per hour if the road is good or if the road is bad. Okay, then we have to reduce our speed. We may be traveling at a speed of 20 km per hour. Then the time taken in both the cases will be different. In such cases, we have to find out the average speed needed to reach our destination. Average speed needed to reach our destination. Okay. So again, since it is moving with a speed v1 initially, that let us assume that is from point A to B. Okay. You can write it as this is the speed from A to B. v1 in a time t1 and then it moves with a speed v2, let me assume this point is C, in a time t2. Now our interest is that we have to find average speed. Clear? So average speed. So what is the formula for average speed? As I mentioned earlier, total distance travelled by total time taken, or we can write it as S is the symbol for distance, S total by time, that is symbol is T. Here we are having two different cases, right? So we are very clear that speed and time is given but distance is not given. Then what we have to do? Again we have to recollect our previous basics. What is the previous basics? Speed is equal to distance by time. Here speed and time is given. So speed and time is given but distance is not given. So from this I can tell you that distance is equal to speed into time. Okay. So this concept will come into existence. Since here v1 and t1 is given, so here the distance, as I told here, speed into time. Here the speed is v1 and time is t1 will give you distance, that is equal to s1, and whereas here the distance s2 is equal to v2 into t2. That because in this case the speed is v2 and time is t2. Okay. So now I have to substitute those things. So here total distance I could write it as s1 plus s2 where total time as t1 plus t2. Okay, s1 is nothing but v1 t1 and s2 is nothing but v2 t2 divided by, and time t1 and t2 are given directly. So why don't I substitute this? If it was given directly, we can substitute. But here s1 and s2 are not given directly. That is the reason I am recollecting the previous formulas or previous relations and substituting here. By using this concept, what kind of questions you are going to get? That's what I am going to discuss now. Okay. So let me take it as a case 1 and case 2. In case 1, let me say that a body moves with a speed v1 for first half of the time. Let us assume the total time is t and first half of the time is t by 2. Later on, it moves with a speed v2 for remaining half of the time. Later on, it moves with a speed v2 for remaining half of the time. This is what is the given question. Okay. So now our interest is that we have to find out the average speed. So let me assume that this point is A and this point is B and this point is C. So for this particular case, I have to find out the average speed. So let me substitute in this formula, because previous case and this case both are same. The only thing is that I have assumed that the time taken in this both the cases is half, exactly half. So let me directly substitute that. Okay. So now if I take this, what I am going to get? Average speed is equal to v1 t1. So v1 here t1 is t by 2 plus v2 t2. v2 and here time is t by 2 divided by t1 plus t2, that is t by 2 by t by 2. So now we have to solve this. So here t by 2, here t by 2. Why don't I take it as common? If t by 2 is taken as common, you will get it as v1 plus v2, and here t by 2 plus t by 2, that is 2t by 2. So this both is cancelled and the final answer is v1 plus v2 by 2. So this is the way we have to find average speed for this particular concept. Okay. So my dear children, please have a look at this carefully. Okay. If any doubt, you just go back and observe again and again. So this is also very important concept. Okay. So my dear children, earlier we have studied in concept 1 and concept 4, two different cases. That is, when the speeds are given and distances are given, we have studied that the average speed is equal to 2v1 v2 by v1 plus v2 provided the distances are equal, that is s by 2 and s by 2. Okay. And in concept 4, we have studied that if speeds are given and equal times are given, that is t by 2 and t by 2. The average speed is equal to v1 plus v2 by 2. So these two relations are very important, that in your examination, if they ask you, there is no enough time to derive everything. We have to remember it. Okay. Remember it and recollect it, and we have to use it whenever that was required. So now in the concept 5, I am giving you the particular numerical, or you can say it as a concept or a numerical, where the concept 1 and concept 4 are reused, so that I can find the answer in a span of 2 to 3 steps. Okay. So for you, I am writing once again. Previously I told you that if speeds are equal in both the cases, that is if s1 equal to s by 2 and s2 equal to s by 2, moves with a speed v1 and v2. In this case, I told you that the average speed is equal to 2v1 v2 by v1 plus v2. So this is what I told you in concept 1. Okay. And in concept 4, what I explained you is that if the body moves with the speed v1 and v2, okay, in its time t1 and t2. So here I have taken that it moves with the speed v1 for first half of the time and v2 for remaining half of the time. In this case, I found out that the average speed is equal to v1 plus v2 by 2. So now it's time for you to remember these two formulas, so that in concept 5 I can use it directly. You should not waste the time. Okay. In concept 5, I say that if a body covers half of the distance with a speed v0, So instead of saying half, let me say it as covers first half of the distance with a speed v0 and remaining half of the distance is covered in such a way that for the first half of the time, it moves with a speed v1 and next half of the time it moves with a speed v2. Then our interest upon is that we have to find average speed. Children, once again I am explaining. This concept 5 tells you that a body covers first half of the distance with a speed v0 and the next half of the distance has been covered in such a way that it means that he is splitting the next half of the distance in such a way that for the first half of the time it moves with a speed v1 and next half of the time it moves with a speed v2. So here there are two different speeds, v0, v1, v2. Understand? And the distance half and half. And the time previously, let me say it is t0. And in the second half it is t1 and t2. So like this it was mixed. Now our interest is that we have to find out the average speed. Okay? So let me draw a diagram for you. So if a body covers first half of the distance, so first half. So let me write this as s by 2. S by 2 indicates that it is first half. Okay, so name this point as A and this point as B. Half of the distance with a speed v0. Clear? With a speed v0. And remaining half, so from here to here somewhere, let me assume this point as C. And remaining half, okay, is covered in such a way that for the first half of the time. So here this we have to split into two, that is first half of the time, and this is next half of the time. Like that we have to split. For the first half of the time it moves with a speed v1 and next half of the time it moves with a speed v2. So these are the things we have to observe. Okay, v1 and v2. So how to solve this? See, if I know these two concepts directly, I can simply substitute here. So here half of the time speed v1 and here half of the time speed v2. The average speed here it is v1 plus v2 by 2. If you observe this and this, both are same. Observe closely. So here v1 v2 is there, here also v1 v2 is there, here half of the time, here half of the time, here also half of the time, half of the time. It was very clear that this particular concept is related to concept 4. So directly what I will say is that in place of this I will write that average speed in this case, that is from B to C, which is equal to v1 plus v2 by 2. So let me write this average speed is nothing but speed from B to C. Over. Now continuation to above diagram I can draw like this. Here A and this point is B and this point is C. Here half of the distance is given, speed is v0, and here also half of the distance is given and the speed here it is v1 plus v2 by 2, which you could write it as speed from B to C. Okay, this is speed from A to B. Now my dear children, observe closely this particular diagram and this particular concept, right? So if you observe these two, here half of the distance, here also half of the distance, here also there is two different speeds and here also there is two different speeds. But here I name it as v1 and v2 and here I name it as VAB and VBC. That's all. That is the only difference. So for this particular concept, you got the average speed as 2v1 v2 by v1 plus v2. So the same thing here I am going to do. Same concept here. We have to simply substitute in this. So what I am going to get here is that average speed, let me put dash. Already I have placed average now. So now the new one is dash, which is equal to, as per this concept, it is 2 times of v1. In place of v1, what is there? VAB. VAB. In place of v2, what is there? VBC. By VAB plus VBC. This is the way we have to write. Okay. So VAB is given as V0. VAB is given as V0. VBC is given as V1 plus V2 by 2. And this is V0 plus V1 plus V2 by 2. This is the way we have to write. Okay, my dear children. Now let us solve this. This 2 and 2 will be cancelled. Okay, here if you take LCM, this 2 comes here and the 2 goes up. Clear now? So the final answer is that we can write it as 2 times of V0 into V1 plus V2, which was divided by 2 V0, because 2 into V0 LCM is 2 V0 plus V1 plus V2. So this is the way we will get the average speed for the above concept. Once I am telling you, by taking LCM here you will get 2 V0 and the denominator 2 goes up and finally you will get this answer. I hope this was very clear. If anyone have a little bit of ambiguity, please pause it and go back and observe it, okay? Read it several times. So finally, no doubt, it was very clear. You will understand it. Very, very important concept. Okay, my dear children? Thank you.